Welcome to the BEASTwriter family, where social media engagement is encouraged. I'm your host, Ryan Sakamoto, and today we're going to be discussing the Las Vegas Raiders OTAs, which start tomorrow, or I should say continue tomorrow, and it's June 1 to June 3. So I just want to say, can't even talk. Just want to say thank you to each and every one of you for subscribing to my channel. This will be a quick live stream. I'm just going to go ahead and get out some bullet points out on what to expect in the next few days when it comes to the Las Vegas Raiders. All right, so let's not waste any more time. We're just going to go ahead and get started. So if you guys read my BEASTwriter Plus newsletter, you will know that we started with the camp battle between Nick Mullins and Jarrett Stidham. I like both those guys to be the backups in Las Vegas, and there's a number of different reasons why. I think that both of these guys are smart, decisive, and make quick decisions. So they're perfect for the Patriot way or Raider way, however you guys want to go about it. And what they bring to the table is the intangibles that you need for the NFL quarterback position. So with that being said, Nick Mullins and Jarrett Stidham, I think, are going to do wonders for the Las Vegas Raiders, fighting for that backup position. Now, we all know what happened when Colin Kaepernick last Wednesday got a workout. And although nothing is imminent, we really don't know how that one's going to play out. Did they just do their due diligence and leaving no stone unturned, which I said on the relevant app? If you guys follow me on In the Huddle on the relevant app with Glenn Parker, Tom McManus, Sean Salisbury, and my man Randy Cross. But we talked about it, right? We talked about exactly why did the Raiders bring Colin Kaepernick in the first place. And again, if you read my BEASTwriter Plus newsletter, you will get the inside info on exactly our thoughts there. So again, I think it's going to come down to Nick Mullins and Jarrett Stidham. I think bringing in Colin Kaepernick, I'm going to have to agree with Glenn Parker here. I think it was just out of good faith. I think coming from Nevada and playing at Nevada, I think that was out of good faith. Like, hey, man, let's just give this guy a shot because obviously he deserves one, right? Obviously, Colin Kaepernick deserves a shot. So I liked what the Raiders did. They gave him a shot. Obviously, they liked what they saw, but was it enough for them to sign him to a future contract? I mean, that remains to be seen, but we're just going to play the waiting game. Maybe if someone gets hurt, maybe if Nick Mullins goes down or Jarrett Stidham go down, then we can go ahead and get back to that. But as it currently stands, I don't think Colin Kaepernick is going to be on the Raiders roster in the near future in terms of like the next few weeks or so. I think something has to happen. Now watch me be wrong and watch it happen. Jerry Yang, my man, says, wow, BEASTwriter after dark. Yeah, you know what? I got my workout in. Did a really intense workout. If you guys follow me on Instagram, you guys know I hit 1,000 calories or close to it, 900 to 1,000 in under an hour. That's my like pregame, and then I actually get going on my strength training. So there's some thoughts, and people can have their own opinion as to why I do cardio first sometimes, but it works for me. I mean, you cannot. What works for me may not work for you, and vice versa. So I don't know what to tell you other than I'm just different. So we're going to go ahead and get back to the stream. But no, Jerry Yang, thank you so much. We got to have you on, man. I see you living it up too. Follow my man, Jerry Yang. He also has his YouTube channel, and he's a regular here in the BWF. Let's go ahead and talk about Josh Jacobs and Zamir White. This is going to be one of those camp battles, and I call it a camp battle, but it really isn't. But really is, because if you're looking for toward the future, you don't draft a guy in the 4th round, number 122 overall, and not pick up a 2019 first round pick who was drafted number 24 overall, his 5th-year option, if you didn't see some kind of changing of the guard. I mean, let's face it, GM Dave Ziegler, he wants his players, he wants his guys. I'm not saying Josh Jacobs isn't his guy, one of his guys. I mean, Josh Jacobs, let's face it, 3,087 rushing yards, 28 total touchdowns, or rushing touchdowns, I should say, 4.2 yards per pop in his career. So he's a 1,000-yard rusher. And again, that 4.2 yards per pop is deceiving because he didn't have a very strong offensive line. Let's just face it. So for him to get so many yards after contact or after initial contact, and have that contact balance to fall forward and continually to fall forward for those extra minimal, even though it's minimal yardage, it's still yardage. So 4.2 yards per pop for his career behind Las Vegas Raiders offensive line. I think it's good. I think it's a good thing. So I like Josh Jacobs. Maybe that's because I'm a Roll Tide Roll fan, but hey, I like Josh Jacobs. I think he should be on the roster. I was actually surprised that they didn't pick up his 5th-year option. But when you look at the Patriot way, making its way to Raider Nation, right? We talked about this. I talked about this on the Raiders podcast, Raider Nation Radio, thanks to my man Vinny B. But we talked about this. The Raider way making its way to, make its way to Las Vegas, right? From the Patriot way. So I know Raider fans don't like to hear the Patriot way. It's like, oh, we're the Raiders. We're doing things our way. Nah, man. Like, I don't care what you call it. This is what I said on the show. I don't care what you call it. Call it the Patriot. Just call it the winning way. The Patriots win. That's what they do. So I don't care what you call it. As long as you win, everything's kosher. All right? Everything's kosher. So I like this two-headed monster between Josh Jacobs and Zamir White. You're really going to see kind of like if you're a San Francisco 49er fan. Remember when they had Kevin Barlow, right? They had Kevin Barlow waiting in the wings, coming out of Pitt. And who else did they have? Didn't they have like Frank Gore there? Or if I'm not mistaken, was it not Frank Gore? Who was it back then? It was Kevin Barlow. And who was the other guy? I want to say it was like a Charlie Garner. I don't know that because that was Charlie Garner, Garrison Hurst. But Kevin Barlow was in there, and he was splitting reps with somebody. I can't name it. But he went over or close to it, 1,000 yards, if I'm not mistaken, coming out of Pitt. And everyone knew he was going to be the guy. Like, everyone knew he was going to be the guy. Now, is that the same kind of dynamic that you're seeing in Las Vegas with Zamir White being there? I wouldn't necessarily say so because they're both young players. And they both have things to prove, especially Josh Jacobs, where the team did not pick up his fifth-year option. So I think you look at it from a GM perspective, with Dave Ziegler's perspective, and you say, okay, we know what Josh Jacobs can do, but I want a running back that I know I can win with and maybe a little bit cheaper. And then we can complement the missing parts in free agency, whether it be the offensive line. We're going to talk about that a little bit more in detail right after assessing the running back position. But I think going into the season, the Raiders have a vision and a plan in place to where they know what they're going to get with Josh Jacobs. They know they're going to get 1,000 yards from him if they give him XYZ number of carries per game. But what about Zamir White? Zamir White is, in my opinion, I think that was a steal at number 122. I think Zeus, that's his nickname for those who don't know. I think Zeus is going to do well. If I had to take a guess on rushing yards or scrimmage yards, let's say, right? Rushing and receiving. I mean, I could see him total like 800, 900 yards. Think about it. Guys. Zamir White is the real deal. Now, will he top that? I mean, that's the high end, but I mean, realistically, anywhere from 550, 600 to 750, I think that's reasonable. Because what do the Raiders like to do under Josh McDaniels' offense? Well, to open up the passing game, they like to spread it out wide and have empty set formations, but they also like to run the football. So I don't know. I like Zamir White. I like Josh Jacobs. I like them both. I think it's a good problem to have. And I think a lot of teams would love to have that problem. So that's a camp battle to watch as OTAs continue tomorrow. Let's move on to the wide receiver position. I've been getting a lot of talk on this, and this is something I should have brought up on the Raider Nation podcast, Raider Nation Radio, when I had the opportunity. I didn't, but I'll talk about it here in the BEASTwriter Plus YouTube channel, right? BEASTwriter Plus YouTube channel, BWF, DOB, Dark Side of BEASTwriter. You guys know what I'm talking about. All right, so Hunter Renfrow, to me, is going to benefit greatly from Davante Adams, and a number of different reasons. We can talk about on the surface on how Davante Adams is just going to be schemed up, right? He's going to be double teamed, triple covered, whatever the case may be, based on the cover shell that you're looking across from you. Okay. What you don't understand is Hunter Renfrow plays the slot. So lined up in the slot, there really is no difference because he has to operate from little real estate to work with anyways because he's lined up inside. When you're pre-snap leverage inside, you have to know what the linebacker is doing. You have to know what the wide receiver, what kind of route the split end or the flanker is going to be running so you guys don't cross pass. You have to know your spacing. There's a lot of different elements that go into it when you're playing the slot position. In fact, I talked to Coach Bicknell when Chip Kelly was the head coach of the San Francisco 49ers, and I talked to him. I said, hey, Aaron Burbridge, you guys remember Aaron Burbridge, right? Aaron Burbridge from Michigan State was playing the slot, and I'm watching around this time, and I remember having these conversations. I'm like a freaking memory bank. I remember everything. I said, hey, man, like Aaron Burbridge is playing the slot. Like that's a tough position to play because in my estimation, that's the hardest position on the football field outside of quarterback. And he says, yeah, you're not wrong, because the slot, you have to know about spacing, you have to know about pre-snap leveraging, you have to know how to play your technique, you have to know how to keep your like how to come off your stem, right? There's different high points in coming off your stem. You don't want to sell it too high or sell it too low. You want to keep square in terms of like not rising, right? Not rising, keeping the center of gravity of low pad level. So you want to make sure that when you come and break off your stem, aside from that, you have to know about spacing more than anything else. And so that's why I think Hunter Renfrow is going to benefit, because to him, it's like clockwork. It's easy for him. He makes it look easy. I mean, 2019 fifth round pick, drafted 149 overall by the Las Vegas Raiders, coming out of Clemson, 5'10", 184. The guy's not the biggest guy, but the guy is tough as nails, right? And that's what you look for in the Raider way, right? He's a sure-handed wide receiver. He knows how to find soft spots in zone coverage. So you know what you're getting with Hunter Renfrow, right? A crispy, clean route runner, which we just discussed, that you got to be playing the slot. So how does Davante Adams impact Hunter Renfrow's play? And I'm going to be writing a newsletter on this in the BEASTwriter Plus newsletter. You can hit the description box below and subscribe. But he's more quicker than fast, and that's evident by his 6.83 cone drill that he had, aside from his 4.59 40-yard dash, right? And so when you convert that and you're saying, okay, well, let's watch the film and break it down by tenths of a second and see the lateral agility, how he explodes, how his fast twitch muscle fibers go, and how they fire off, and how he can drop off on a drop of a dime. I mean, these are things you look for if you're evaluating a player, especially if you're in scouts, right? So lateral agility allows him to win at the line of scrimmage from the slot, simply put. And that's where he gets a lot of his targets. He wins early in the down. And we don't talk about that enough in terms of the receiver getting open. We all just see, oh man, clips of him getting open. Like, oh man, that guy's so, look at him flip that cornerback's hips. Look at him just open. That cornerback just opened his hips way too early. He sold it. And then he came back friendly to the football. We call it friendly to the football because you don't want the cornerback to undercut the route. I mean, there's different things that go into it. But when you talk about Hunter Renfrow, he gets it. He gets all that. So that's why I like Hunter Renfrow, and I put up a tweet up there on a poll in terms of how many catches he's going to have. Because we all know that, if I'm not mistaken, didn't he go over 100 catches last year and had a breakout season? Right? So is he going to duplicate that? I would say with Davante Adams there, he wouldn't. But that doesn't necessarily dismiss the fact that his impact will not be just as great, if not greater, because he's going to benefit from Davante Adams on the other side, or on the same side, whatever the case may be, and wherever personnel that they're in. So while Adams will be double teamed often, and obviously they still have tight end Darren Waller, who we haven't discussed yet, who threatens down the seams, no matter the too deep or single high cover shell, you know damn well Hunter Renfrow is going to get open. That's his strength, is finding the soft spots in zone coverage between the 20s. Hello? You don't think GM Dave Ziegler knows that? Obviously. And with Hunter Renfrow being in the contract year, he's going to get paid. You can't double team everyone, and Renfrow will definitely reap the benefits, right? Last year, I don't know what the numbers are last year when it comes to Hunter Renfrow. I think he had like 103 catches for 1,038 receiving yards, 1,038 receiving yards, 9 touchdowns or something like that, 9, 10 touchdowns, somewhere along those lines. No, it wasn't double digits. I remember it was 9 touchdowns. He had a hell of a year last year. 50% first down catch rate. I remember putting that down in my notes. Watching the Colts game, you guys got to go back and watch the Colts game. That was a good man. Hunter Renfrow. But anyways, I think you should see similar numbers as he did in 2021. But don't be surprised if they kind of slightly decline, because obviously Davante Adams is going to get the lion's share of the targets. That's just my opinion. But I mean, why would you not force feed the ball to Davante Adams? Because he's proven time and time again he can still make the catch. So also to why I think Darren Waller, or why it's not Darren Waller, why Hunter Renfrow, I'm going to get to Darren Waller in a second. But another reason why Hunter Renfrow's numbers were spiked was because Darren Waller missed 6 games last year. So again, when you don't have viable threats outside and you have Hunter Renfrow there, I mean, that's your only real threat. Bryan Edwards, of course, came on late, but he's not even there this year, right? He got traded. So it goes without saying that I think Hunter Renfrow, for all you fantasy football owners, should still be in play. He's going to be I wouldn't consider a sleeper. I don't think he's a sleeper, but he's going to be. You shouldn't sleep on him. Like, you should not sleep on him just because Davante Adams is there. All right, I'm certainly not. I'm picking him up. So that's what you're going to see from him. But if I was to put a stat line on Hunter Renfrow, because I said it's going to decline, right? I think he's going to have 75 catches, not 103 catches. I think he's still going to have 877 receiving yards, not 1,000, but 877, which is not 1,038, but 877 is still good, right? And I think he'll have about 6 to 8 touchdowns, right? That's my stat line for Hunter Renfrow. Now check the Beast Receipt book market. It's May 31st. Obviously, all things created equal, if he stays healthy, that's the stat line that I have. 75 catches, 877, and 8 tugs. Mark it down for you fantasy football owners. Looks to get paid. He'll get paid in the contract year. Looking forward to his 2023 cap number, whatever that is. Or is it backloaded? No, I don't think they're going to backload his contract. But he's going to stay in Raider Nation. Like, you can't get rid of Hunter Renfrow. He's a top 5 slot wide receiver in the entire NFL. Make no qualms about it. Now let's talk about Jerry Yang, my man. We got another comments by Jerry. He says, anytime but not this late. Have a good show. Raiders have a lot of weapons for Renfrow, Waller, and Adams, but the weakest link is Carr, maybe the O-line. You know what? We're going to talk about that O-line. I don't know if we want to talk about it now. Just joking. Of course, we're going to talk about it now. So let's go ahead and talk about it, right? So my estimation, and I've been highly critical of the Raiders and their draft picks. It's no surprise. Check the Beast Receipts on Twitter. I said the last 3 years, whether it be Damon Arnett, Alex Leatherwood, or even Clelin Ferrell, I said all three of those guys were reaches, by the way. And I'm a huge Roll Tide Roll fan. And that's not to take away anything from Alex Leatherwood. I think the guy's a stud. I just think that 17 overall, that was a reach when you can consider other players that were higher rated on my big board. Here I am pulling a Mel Kiper. But at the end of the day, if you guys check my Beast Receipts, I beat ESPN and NFL Network and all the draft pundits for the last 2 years in mock draft. So just saying. All right. But to get back to it, we're talking about all these first-round draft picks that really haven't panned out. Clelin Ferrell, whoa. Damon Arnett, where is he? Henry Ruggs, where is he? That's why you need a new regime in here. Now, when it comes to Alex Leatherwood, and I talked about it on the Raider Nation radio podcast last week when I was down in Henderson, visiting over there, and I checked out the Raiders headquarters from the outside, which, by the way, off St. Rose Parkway is gorgeous. It is gorgeous. If you live in Henderson, Nevada, or live in Las Vegas, you guys got to check out the head. I haven't been inside. Maybe one day I'll probably be inside, maybe. But the Intermountain, it's called the Intermountain Healthcare Performance Center. Just like the 49ers, when I worked there, it was called the SAP. Was it the SAP Center or SAP Performance Center? Whatever it's called, right next to Levi Stadium. It's nice. It's nice. Just saying it's nice. But I said on the Raider Nation radio podcast that I thought Alex Leatherwood would be best suited to stick at right guard. If you guys remember last year, that's where they moved him. He struggled at right tackle. They moved him inside the guard. He did a lot better. He did a lot better on the interior. Why? Because you have help at center and then you have help outside. Or if you don't have help outside because he's on an island, well, you can play in pre-snap your leverage to where you do have help with the interior, right? It's just easier on the interior than it is outside on an island. But I said that's his best position. I said it when he was drafted. I think he's better suited for guard. After running the BWF game grades, that's what I saw. But here we are today, and we're talking about Alex Leatherwood sticking at right tackle. I think that's a best case scenario. I'm not saying he can't play right tackle. He can definitely kick slide. He can angle block. He can seal off defenders, hit the second level. We all understand that, right? But can he be consistent in pass pro? Can he be consistent and cut down on the penalties? Right? Things I discussed in the BEASTwriter Plus newsletter. I talked about this. I talked about this. Not necessarily Alex Leatherwood, but we talked about other players. You're just going to have to check out the newsletter to find out which player that is. But Raider Nation Radio said it. By the way, if you guys don't follow Raider Nation Radio, you got to do that. That's like the official Raiders podcast by Vinny B of the Las Vegas Nation reporter. But here we are today, right? And Alex Leatherwood, best case scenario, I said it on the podcast. I said, best case scenario is Dave Ziegler and Josh McDaniels want Alex Leatherwood to play right tackle. They want him to play right tackle. Why? Because then you have a three-way camp battle during OTAs with Denzel Good, who, by the way, people forget about because he tore his ACL week 1 last year. You have Dylan Parham, who they drafted number 30 in the third round, number 90 overall out of Memphis, who I ran game grades on him. You guys can check it out on my BEASTwriter Plus newsletter, Twitter. It's all up on my social media, right? Guy's a beast. And then you have John Simpson, who obviously started on the left side all year last year in place of Denzel Good. So you have starter experience, young players, and all three of those guys can be serviceable starters for any other NFL team, or at the very least, a solid backup. Andre James, the center, he's going to be in the middle there. That's not going to change. He's going to be the starter there. So I really like Andre James. I think he has Pro Bowl potential. I like Andre James a lot. In fact, I like this entire team a lot. I do. I think you should not sleep on the Las Vegas Raiders. You shouldn't sleep on them. I like the Las Vegas Raiders. What they did on both sides of the football, they improved their team dramatically. Because you guys know I run my BWF grades on not just focusing on one team and saying, oh, yeah, just talking about one team. Nah, man. When I come on, I talk about all 32 off the top of my head. I could talk about Bilal Nichols, which you're going to go into. Go ahead and check the Beast Receipts on Twitter. Talked about him when he was with the Chicago Bears. I say what? What'd I say about him? Well, we're going to talk about him a little bit. Let's go ahead and talk about nose tackle Clelin Ferrell. All right, the Raiders are transitioning to a 34 scheme. Coach PG, Patrick Graham, is transitioning to a 34 base from a 4-3 front. That is only good if you have the personnel to play that scheme. So what did they do? They didn't have the players. They went out and got the players, right? Who couldn't play in that scheme or who could play in that scheme, right? Got rid of some players, added some players, right? Clelin Ferrell, nose tackle, LSU. My good friend coached him up, Andre Carter, who's going to come on this podcast. Calls him a lighter Vince Wilfork. It's in my BEASTwriter Plus newsletter. You guys want to see that interview? Also called him violent, among other things. So a lighter Vince Wilfork, I'll take that any day of the week. And I told Andre, I was like, bro, are you being serious right now? Like, for real. Like, a lot of it, he's like, I played with Vince Wilfork in New England, bro. I played for Patrick Graham because he was a coach there with New England there. I said, I coached Clelin Ferrell. Clelin is a lighter Vince Wilfork. He's a real deal. I was like, okay, I'll take your word for it, man. Turn on the film. Boom. So just go to the Alabama game. That's not the only game I want to watch, even though you can see comparable talent in the SEC. I get it. That's kind of like what scouts do, is they want to gauge NFL talent versus NFL talent. They don't want to see Appalachian. No offense to Appalachian State. I'm just throwing it out there. Or Montana State or San Jose State going up against Alabama or LSU. That's just kind of like a practice game for them. But yeah, I ran grades on Clelin Ferrell. You guys can see that. It's all posted everywhere on my social media. So have clips on that. But I like Clelin Ferrell a lot. Like him a lot. Think it's a good pickup for him to play nose tackle. Hey, a lot of Vince Wilfork, I'll take it. And they also have Jonathan Hankins, right? So you have a veteran who can kind of show Clelin Ferrell the ropes. They also have Bilal Nichols. Let's talk about that guy, right? Go check my Beast Receipts on Twitter. Said he had Pro Bowl talent, man. I thought, my estimation, right? I thought GM Ryan Poles, the new GM coming from the Brett Veach tree from Kansas City, would go ahead and re-sign Bilal Nichols and let Akeem Hicks walk. I tweeted this out. Well, fast forward today, and obviously Hakeem Hicks got signed, and Bilal Nichols was also let go, basically, because they didn't re-sign him or retain him, and he was allowed to go to what? A 34 base team. Las Vegas Raiders. So it was interesting to see Ryan Poles literally trade all his assets. I mean, Khalil Mack, right? That's another one. So interesting how this is all playing out. But hey, Chicago, I think Ryan Poles is doing a tremendous job there. He has his personnel in place. He has his coaching staff in place. They're bringing the hits mentality on defense, was his hustle, intensity, takeaways, and hustle, intensity, takeaways, and I want to say sacks, but it's not it. It's not it. Smarts, was it? One of those things, but it's an acronym that stands for hustle, intensity, takeaways, and something else. But I think it's smarts. But anyways, you see what they're doing there with the Chicago Bears. You see what a lot of teams are doing, bringing the Patriot way to the Raider way, or whatever the case may be. And you can kind of see where the Raiders are going. So Bilal Nichols is one of the most underrated free agents in this entire free agent class. I'm telling you right now, Raider Nation, you're going to love Bilal Nichols. If you don't know who he is, you're going to hear it first here on the BWF, because I've been talking about it for the last couple of years. I like Bilal Nichols. I think he has Pro Bowl talent. If he was in a 4-3 base defense and he was an interior 3 technique, he can definitely play that. Or he can just 2-gap his way the hell out of the center. Out of the center and guard. So I really like Bilal Nichols. I think he's, again, one of the best free agent pickups for any new NFL team. Then they just signed Tyler Lancaster. Again, a 3-4 guy coming from the Green Bay Packers. And obviously, you guys know how I feel about Vernon Butler when he came out. So I like those 3-4 scheme guys. Good depth, good solid depth, guys who understand the scheme. Defensive line is listen, it's not easy to play defensive line, but it's not hard. You just got to know your pre-snap leveraging technique. You got to play with sound leverage. You got to be the lower man always wins. You got to learn how to stack and shed. You got to learn personnel groupings. If you want to be next level, watch film study based on where the tight end form. There's just a lot of different things. But in a nutshell, man, as long as you play your splits and you play with gap integrity and gap control, and you don't leave your linebackers behind you out to dry because you're in a 2-gap scheme, everyone's going to love you. Plain and simple. Just don't do anything stupid. All right. Which brings me to Clelin Ferrell. Is Clelin Ferrell on his way out? And Clelin, if you're watching this, this is not throwing shade at you. I'm just calling it how I see it. I've always done that here in the BWF. Nothing has changed. I think you're scheme dependent. And I think Clelin Ferrell is scheme dependent. Now, prove me wrong. I could be wrong. Time will tell. But they didn't pick up his 5th-year option. Maybe because they knew he was scheme dependent. I don't know. And why would you pick up a guy's 5th-year option to be a backup insurance policy when you already have Max Crosby and then you went out and got Chandler Jones? You're going to pick up, for you Niner fans, that's equivalent to the Niners picking up Mike McGlinchey's 5th-year option and Mike McGlinchey being a backup right tackle. Like, does that make sense to you? No. So it's smart play by Dave Ziegler. I can see why he did that. I don't understand the Josh Jacobs one as much, but I do understand. You know what? To be honest with you, I do understand it, because I think they want to get cheaper at the position with little to no drop off in production, and they can use the extra cash saved to kind of use that money elsewhere, or they can play Josh Jacobs outright. I mean, they have there's different dynamics. I hope they retain Josh Jacobs. He's one of my favorite players, but on the Raiders. But yeah, we'll have to see how that one plays out. But I can see why they did that. And then, of course, you have Clelin Ferrell, drafted 4th overall. I thought they were going to go Devin White. But look, 3 years have passed. He only has 8 sacks. Don't be a box score reader. I watched the film. Not very good. Up to this point, now things can change, but he is scheme dependent. And there's a reason why Las Vegas didn't pick up his 5th-year club option, So that's what I see with when it comes to Clelin Ferrell. I hope he can shine and watch him ball out and have double-digit sacks this year. But when it comes down to it, I don't know, man. I don't know how this one's going to play out. My boy Anthony Parker says, good work, Ryan. What's going on, Anthony? I see you, fam. Anthony Parker from Weber State. You guys don't know who this guy is. Anthony Parker, one of my favorite players growing up. He played for Weber State, also played for the San Francisco 49ers as a 4th-round pick, right, Anthony? I think you're a 4th-round pick, my bro. From Weber State. Ironically, coincidentally, got in touch with him years ago because he followed me from the Niners, and always supports me, always likes what I have to say. He says I'm spot on. And yeah, thank you so much, man. I wouldn't be here without you, Anthony. So thank you. Anthony, for all you Bill Walsh people out there, you guys all love Bill Walsh, right? Anthony Parker, Bill Walsh compared Anthony Parker to Eric Wright. And I saw the same thing. And I know Eric Wright too, personally. I know both of you guys personally, Anthony and Eric. we've been on a few podcasts together, but I could see it. But injuries got to Anthony, and I was like, if only he didn't get injured, he would have been potentially one of the best cornerbacks to ever play in the game for the San Francisco 49ers. Anthony Parker, Weber State. Believe it. Jerry Yang, thank you so much, Anthony. I see you, AP, my man. Jerry Yang says, this team would win any division, but man, the AFC West is tough with Russell Wilson in Denver, Herbert and Chargers getting better, and never sleep on Mahomes. Hope for the best, but will be a challenge. I'll be honest, and I don't think the Raiders are going to win the AFC West. In fact, there's a lot of Raider fans that go to my gym. I was at the gym earlier today. I would say 85% of the people that wear NFL stuff in this gym are Raider fans. It's not Niner, which is weird because usually it's Niner fans. Here, and if you guys go to City Sports off Newhall Drive, that's where I'm at. Right by the In-N-Out, of course. A lot of Raider fans. I don't know why. Well, one guy just said, I like the hat. So I asked him, I was like, oh man, what do you think of Kaepernick? He's like, oh, I'm a Raider fan, but I just like the hat. I was like, oh, okay, it's cool. Some people just like the hat for the design or whatever. I'm guilty of it too. But no, a lot of Raider fans out there. Where am I going with this? Oh, I had a conversation with a guy, and he says, hey, Beast, I follow you on social media. I was like, oh, man, thanks, man. Appreciate it. Here I am doing cardio, trying to gather my breath, but I don't want to be a douchebag and be like, sorry, man, I can't talk now. Like, that'd be freaking douchey, right? Like, sorry, dude, I can't hear you. What? I got my AirPods in. What? No, I'm not like that. So he came up to me. He's like, hey, man, I just had a quick question. I was like, what do you think about the Raiders this year? And so obviously, I'm not going to answer that question. I mean, I'm right next to you. So I was like, I think Raider Nation should be happy if they have a 9-10 win season. If they can have an 8, 9, 10 win season, 8 to 10 wins, I think that's a win. Playing in the AFC West is tough. I mean, like Jerry says, you have Russell Wilson there. You have Justin Herbert there. They also got J.C. Jackson. I mean, there's a Khalil Mack. I mean, the AFC West is ridiculous. Obviously, Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton. The list goes on and on and on. I mean, let me just tell you, the storyline of 2022 is the AFC West. It's not the NFC West. It's not the NFC East. Although Cowboys and Eagles will always be there because of their fan bases, and we get it, yada, yada. Packers are always going to be there. Bears are always going to be talked about because they bring in, obviously, money. You know what I mean? Big markets. But AFC West is where it's at, bro. I'm telling you right now. AFC West, if you're going to cover a team, cover the AFC West. I covered all 32 NFL teams. You guys know how I do it. And so that's why there's no drop-off in production when I talk about one division as opposed to another. We can talk, and you want to talk about Niners right now? We can just flip the switch and we can talk about Niners all day long, right? So talk about the Rams, sure. But we're talking about the AFC West right now, and I really like what the Kansas City Chiefs are. The team that I think is going to take. I think they're going to take a nosedive. I think the Raiders may have a better record than the Chiefs this year. It sounds crazy, right? Sounds crazy. I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. I think the Chiefs, without Tyreek Hill there, I mean, there's a lot of pieces that are missing. Yes, they have Tyreek Hill. Yes, they have Travis Kelce. Yes, they have Pat Mahomes. Yes, they have a really solid offensive line. Defensively, they don't have Tyrann Mathieu, the Honey Badger. He's off to New Orleans. That's going to be a huge blow to that secondary. Trust me. Honey Badger, my grading system, was the number one ranked safety for the past 2 years. Strong safety, free safety, doesn't matter. And now he goes off to New Orleans Saints, and you think you can replicate that with a guy by the name of Juan Thornhill, possibly, who I liked coming out of Virginia, but is he a Tyrann Mathieu type of a guy? I don't know. We all saw that Nick Sorensen struggled, right? So how's that back end going to do? And then I'll have Travarius Ward there, right? Where is he off to? Oh, yeah, that's right. He got signed by the San Francisco 49ers. See how we're doing this? Let's just talk football. A lot of things to consider here, guys. And I'm telling you right now, I wouldn't be surprised when it comes down to it. And of course, we can talk about the LA Chargers. I think the LA Chargers might win the AFC West. Or it could be the Denver Broncos. I mean, the Denver Broncos in my grading system, check the Beast Receipts on Twitter. Said it last year. I said they have arguably the best secondary in the NFL outside of the New England Patriots, right? And then toward the end of the year, what I say? I said the Denver Broncos have the best secondary in the NFL. Why? Pat Surtain. Check the Beast receipts here on YouTube. I ran grades on last year, right? And I was talking about Pat Surtain, how he's the most fundamentally sound quarterback to come out of this draft class or any draft class since Ahmed Plummer did it back in 2000 out of the Ohio State University, wearing number 19. How do I know that? I studied the draft for that many years. So off the top of my head, I saw what Pat Surtain brought to the table because I'm a huge Roll Tide Roll fan. Here we are today. He got snubbed, by the way, as an All-Pro. Forget Pro Bowl. He got snubbed as an All-Pro. I thought he should have been at least a Pro Bowler. At least a Pro Bowler. But, hey, I voted for you, Pat Surtain, as part of the Pro Football Writers Association. You got my vote, bro. So, just saying. All right, that's going to be it for tonight. I hope you liked the show. It's only, 35 minutes long, but I wanted to get all this out there for you Raider fans so you guys know exactly what's going to go on. OTAs continue tomorrow from the 1st to the 3rd, and then they're going to have mandatory minicamp after that. So mandatory minicamp is where we're going to see a lot of fines. Now, you're not going to see a lot of fines because I don't think there's going to be holdouts when it comes to the Raiders. But other teams, who knows? Deebo Samuel, who knows? No, I don't think Deebo Samuel's going to hold out. Now watch him hold out. No, honestly, if I had to take a guess, I don't think Deebo Samuel is going to hold out. I say that laughing. Who knows? Who knows? All right. Well, that'll be it for today. If you liked what I had to say, please hit the subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner of your screen as you stay up to date on all things Beast in real time. Also, do me a solid and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, like I just said. But then also follow me on social media. I included in every live stream or every video, whether it be static video or a live stream like this, you guys can hit the description box below and see all my social media outlets. Also, thanks to YouTube, I now have a donate. It's not a super sticker or super chat, which you guys can do that here live. But there's also a special, it's called a super thanks. And a super thanks is a heart with a money icon. So if you're not watching this live, that's all good, man, because you guys can still donate and support the channel and support the work that I do. And it'd be greatly appreciated because I want to add more stuff I want to make it better. So obviously it's going to take money. So everything that we get gets funneled back into the BWF and back into the DOB, Dark Side of BEASTwriter, and it gets all back to you with our giveaways. So we do a lot of cool and fun stuff. But that'll be it for tonight, man. I'll be back tomorrow. Take care. BEASTwriter out.